Hello guys. So this screencast is on my mini lesson plan that I would have given in class. I got sequencing, and this is actually going to be a little bit different than my original lesson plan that I had made a while ago. And that's just because once I reviewed it, I realized that it might be a little too difficult for the students that I had in mind, which are a group, not a whole class, but a group of EL 6th grade students, level 1, maybe level 2 English. So I realized that my original plan just had too many activities and might be a little too difficult to do. I shortened it, switched it up a bit. So let's see how this one goes. This would be my first lesson in the unit of sequencing. This is just an introduction, and before actually starting a book, a narrative book that uses a lot of sequencing. So, okay. I would first start off with the preview of preview activity. So basically, I would give each student in my group a set of these pictures. They're not going to be in order. And I would ask them to put it in order. They might not know what order means, but I just want to get them to start noticing these words and, noticing that sequence means putting things in order. I'd ask them to please put these in order of what they do every morning before they go to school. And then I would ask them those questions. What is the first thing you do? What is the next step? What is the last thing you do? And I would emphasize first, next, and last in my tone so that they start noticing these words because they are important for sequencing and they will see these words a lot. So even in just my tone, I want them to focus on those exact words, even if maybe they don't know it yet, like what they mean, just so they can start thinking about it, I guess. Yeah. So I would give them time to do this. I'd look at each one of their pictures. Again, there is no set answer for this. I just want them to put it in order, with what they do in their everyday life. And then after that, after I give them time, we would just discuss the pictures, discuss, what they put in the beginning, what they put in the middle, what they put in the end. Again, I would emphasize those words because they're important for sequence. And then I'd ask them, what did you guys just do? What is the word for it? And they most likely won't know. And that would be when I would then give them the definition of sequence. I would tell them what you just did is you just put these pictures in order, or you did a sequence. And, I would tell them it is the definition of sequencing is the order in which things happen or should happen. It is organized. And the reason why we learn sequencing is because you see it everywhere. We see it in math numbers, alphabet, story, timelines. And I would show them these pictures one by one. Like I'd probably make a whole PowerPoint just on definition of sequencing, but I would show them like the alphabet is in sequence because it is organized. I would say numbers are in sequence because they're organized from the smallest to the biggest number. And then I would show them this. This is a timeline. We always go in order when we use a timeline. 2013, 2014, we go up. And then after I show them these pictures, I would give them examples in our own classroom of sequencing, and then maybe like one or two. And then I'd ask them to point out something in the classroom that they see used to sequence. So after that, I would then hand this out to each one of them, a cheat sheet. And if they had a journal, I'd probably make them paste this on their journal to have. And we would go over these important words. I would tell them these are important words for sequencing. Every time you see these words, it is because you are putting things in order. And we would say each one out loud, beginning, middle, end. And I even have to define these words as well, because there is a high chance that you might not even know what beginning means. So I might even have to scaffold that. I would have to see their level of English. So once we go over those words, I would actually go back to the first activity that we did, and I would have it in order of like how I would get ready for school, and I would show them using these pictures how I would use these words, right? So I would say this is the beginning because it is the first thing I do. These are in the middle because after the first thing I do, this is what I do. I probably give a better explanation, and then this is the end because this is the last thing I do before actually going out onto the bus or in my car, right? So that's how I would point out how to use these sequence words. I would go back to that picture. And we would do that as a class. And then after that, I would show them a picture of this. And as a class, we would then see what type of sequence words we can use for these pictures, right? So I would say, what do you think we could put as the beginning? What do you think we could put as the middle? Etc. And then what can we say about this? Is this first, second, third? That kind of stuff. So after we do that class or group activity, I would then give them each this sheet, and this would be an individual thing. And they might not even know what a PB&J sandwich is, which is why I would show them a picture, and they might not even know how to make a PB&J sandwich. But that's not the important thing. The reason I liked this activity is because it clearly uses sequence words really nicely. So even though they might not understand this, they could for sure understand the order of these words. It might get a little bit tricky with the middle, like then and then. So maybe we might have to do that together. But for sure, I would want them to at least try it themselves. And then if I see most of them getting stuck, we could then switch to a class discussion. And I wouldn't have them cut and glue. I would just have them write them down themselves. After we do that activity and discuss it, how did you know this one first? Well, what keyword? Obviously, this showed you what went where. So after that discussion, then I would give them partner work. We would switch to partner work. We would first read this together. I would show, just in case they don't know how to read it. Then I would show them a picture of what the breakfast would look like, the one described here. And then with a partner, I would ask them to put these in order, right? Like looking at the paragraph, what comes first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. After they do that partner work, I would give them another partner activity where they would put these pictures in order. And my original thought, or like what I would want is for each set of partners, they would each have a different set of pictures. So like one set of partners would get these pictures, another one a different, etc. That way, once they're done putting it in order, I could have them share their work with the rest of the group members. And there is actually no correct way of how to sequence these pictures. So I want them to just, be creative and use their own thoughts on what they would think would be first, what they would think would be in the middle, what they would think would be in the end. The most important thing for me that I would want is for them to know how to use the sequence words and to know how to put things in order and to start noticing that and get it ingrained in them. That's the most important thing for me. So if they think that, I don't know, them sitting at the table goes first, that's fine. As long as they have like a good explanation for it, it's totally fine. But yeah, I would tell them to make a story of it, together as partners, verbal, because written story would be too hard for them. And again, I would have them share it with the rest of the class or group members. And once we do that, then we would move on to a group project. I don't think I would use this set of pictures, but I couldn't really find a nice picture, a nice picture on Google with a good set of smaller pictures. Anyways, but I would have something like this. So what I would have done is I would have cut out each picture and given each one to one group member. So one person would get this, one person would get that, etc. And basically without my help, I would give them directions that they have to talk amongst each other and figure out their own sequence for the pictures. And then also on the back, what I would want them to do is write who is the beginning. Like, is this picture the beginning? If it is, write beginning at the back. Is this in the middle? Then write middle. Is this the end of the story? Then write end. Then after that, I would want them to put some sequence words that would go with that. So if this is the beginning, what would you say? Like, oh, first, if this is the middle, what would you put? Oh, next, after, etc. So I would have them do this as a group work. I would have them work together without my help at first because I would probably just want to analyze and assess their thought process and if they're actually understanding sequence and if they're actually understanding the sequence words and how to use them. And then I would have them share their story with me. Like and I would do that by having them stand in a line. Like, where's your beginning of the story to the end? And have them share that. So we would do that. Then we would move on to review what we just learned. So I would kind of quiz them, what is sequence? And then maybe show them pictures like, is this sequence? Is this not? We would do a little bit of that. And in the last few minutes of class, what I would do is then introduce the book we would start the next day to them. And the book that I chose was If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. And I chose this book because it's very easy to read and it's very easy to comprehend the sequence. So we would do this the next day, start previewing and getting background information on this book specifically. I would introduce them a graphic organizer that would go along with it. And and we would preview the book using, again, the sequence words. First, middle, beginning, middle, and end. And that would be my whole lesson plan, basically. And I have to cut this short to 15 minutes just because Screencast only allows 15 minutes of recording for free. But let me know if you guys have any questions. This is it.